Hey friends, what's happening in Dallas-Fort Worth real estate? Second week of June 2020. I have some interesting data to share with you. I took a slice of time in the midst of this pandemic and extracted some numbers. I'm going to share that with you. It was pretty cool, pretty interesting. I was surprised at what I saw. I'm also going to I got a little rant about who you work with and why it matters so much who you work with. I'm going to give you some examples. One where very bad information from a buyer's agent almost cost a buyer their home and lots of money. And then I'm going to share with you some situations where lenders gave bad information to some buyers, and we were able to save them tens of thousands of dollars. We're going to go into that in a moment. First, I'm David Russell with the Russell team. Thank you for watching this brief video in our video series about buying, selling, and owning real estate. So I'm going to go on this little rant first. I share with you often these little stories about situations that occur in the real estate world, not to degrade my fellow realtors or to talk negatively about lenders or other service providers, but it's to educate you as consumers to help you hopefully make really good decisions in who you hire to help you with this process. It's a very emotional process. It's a very complicated process, and it's also a lot of money. So my goal is to help educate you so that you can make the best decision for you and for your families. Well, in this particular case, we have a house under contract. It's our listing. We represent the seller. And there were a lot of issues with this lender, the buyer's chosen lender, for the first 30 days. And it ultimately didn't close in the first 30 days. So the contract was extended for about 3 weeks. And the lender assured us it could be done. It's Lisa who's talking to this as she manages our listings, and she's talking with the lender on the other side. The closing date, second closing date comes and goes last Thursday. And it didn't close, no papers. They're not even close. They're wanting to extend another 3 or 4 weeks, almost another month, a stupid amount of time. The day of closing, the buyer's agent calls Lisa and says, we're terminating. Underneath the third-party financing addendum, buyer cannot get the terms of the loan that they contracted under, and so we will be sending a termination and a release of earnest. And Lisa shared with the buyer's agent that, no, I'm sorry, that's not applicable in this situation because you had 21 days from the date of contract to terminate under that clause, and we're at 50 days, more than twice the allotted time. And the agent debated that with her, and she deferred and recommended that the agent contact her broker for clarity or a lawyer, because that's not the way the contract's written or the third-party financing addendum. So shortly after that, the agent calls back and says, oh, no, we're not terminating under that clause. We're terminating under this reason, which still wouldn't have been allowed. But unfortunately or fortunately for us, unfortunately for the buyer's agent, she had sent over a termination that clearly stated, we're terminating for these reasons under third-party financing addendum. And then she was trying to change the reason and send us a new one, and even said, well, just throw that one away. I'm going to send you a new one. She's trying to manipulate the situation, an underhanded move. Unfortunately, it didn't work. That buyer now is out the inspection fee, they're out the appraisal fee, they're out the earnest money, they're out the option fee. About $6,000 is what that buyer is getting ready to lose. We have been calling or Lisa had been calling the lender every week, so she knew this wasn't going to close, had educated the seller, and the seller had agreed to allow this buyer to continue under contract if that buyer went to a go-to lender of ours. And we sent them 2, and she chose one of those 2. And that lender pre-approved her, said she's good to go, and that lender is able to close that contract in 2 weeks. The other lender couldn't do it in 6, 7 weeks. And so we were able to help keep our seller under contract, and we were able to save the buyer $6,000 and the house that she wanted to live in, because we were able to get her to a lender that could get the job done. Now, I have no idea why the other lender had a problem with this, and for the length of time that they did. Per our lender, this is a clean file. It's closing in 2 weeks, so clearly it's clean. So the lesson there is that agent was lying and trying to manipulate. I think well, I can't speculate what the agent might have told the buyer, but the agent clearly misunderstood that contract, which was detrimental to that buyer. It almost cost that buyer $6,000 and the house of her dreams. So who you work with matters, agents and lenders. Now here's two other quick examples. I'm helping a buyer. He came to me as a referral. He was dissatisfied with a previous agent for the service that they were providing, so he came to me. He had a quote from a lender for a VA. It was a VA, Veterans Association specialty loan officer, had quoted him $18,000 in closing and a 3.8% interest rate. And I thought both the closing costs and the interest rate seemed high. I said, please contact one of these two lenders on my list and get quotes from them to see what their interest rates are and what their closing costs are, because this just doesn't sound right to me. He called the lender, calls me up, super excited. Closing costs for the same house, same value house, are not $18,000, they're $13,000. And the interest rate is not 3.8, it's 2.8, a full percentage point lower, and $5,000 less in closing costs. No idea why the other agent or the other broker, lender, quoted the numbers that they did, but our go-to lender is able to do it for $5,000 less in closing and a full percentage point less in interest rate. Now, these aren't special programs. This isn't a special deal the lender has. This is going market value rates. So the other lender was jacking it up somehow, or their company was. I don't know whose fault it was, but it was a significant amount of money over the duration of that loan. So clearly, he's left that VA provider and is going with our go-to lender. Now, here's another quick situation. Another buyer that came to us, wanted our help, had a pre-approval, 3.3 something. And I said, that seems high because I know the interest rate today is under 3%. Here's two lenders, call one and let me know what they tell you. He called me back up, 2 point something. It's under 3%. Saved them a little over a quarter point on their interest rate. So it's really important who you work with. It's important that you vet them. I don't know where that buyer that we were talking about on that transaction, I don't know where they got that lender from, whether it was that agent's lender. I don't know where they came from. But it's important that you shop lenders. It's important that you know who you're working with and that you understand the interest rates and the closing costs before you go into a contract. So it's important to do that due diligence well in advance of submitting a contract. Same applies for a realtor. Hire a realtor that demonstrates or has demonstrable evidence. They can demonstrate that they're competent and that they understand the contract. What are their testimonials? Do they have transactions? How many transactions? How many in the last 5 years? How long have they been an agent? Lots of questions I don't want to go into here today. I'll get in a deep rant. But the bottom line is who you work with matters. Please vet your agents, vet your service providers, vet your brokers. If there's anything I can do for you folks, please feel free to call, text, or email me. I'm David Russell, and I'm here to help.